There's nothing quite like The Block on Australian television. For over 20 years, this show has been a ratings juggernaut, a pillar of Australian pop culture. It's the great Australian dream packaged into a high-stakes, high-drama reality competition. But what if I told you that this entire spectacle, this feel-good fantasy, is built on a foundation that's far more rotten than the derelict buildings they start with? Because behind the fresh paint and the Fendi coffee table books, The Block is feeding a national obsession that's pushing our society to a breaking point. It champions a toxic culture of waste, fuels a housing crisis it pretends doesn't exist, and leaves a trail of very real human and environmental damage in its wake. Today, we're looking past the perfectly styled cushions to expose the disturbing reality of what happens when a basic human need becomes primetime entertainment. This is the mess behind the makeover and the true cost of The Block. Unlike programs filmed in isolated studios, The Block's entire gimmick is that it happens in the real world. They take over a real suburban street and, for 3 months, turn it into a high-budget, high-stress film set. Just look at the 2023 season on a street ironically named Charming Street in Melbourne. Residents received an intrusive letter demanding they hide modern cars for a commercial shoot, even if they were in their own driveways. The locals called the request unreasonable, all while the show's top producer was parking his $500,000 Porsche wherever he pleased. The channel treats a real community like a private film set, where locals are just inconvenient extras. But it's not just the social environment that gets trashed, it's the actual environment too. There's a deep, primal satisfaction in watching demolition, with sledgehammers crashing through plasterboard, an old kitchen being torn from the walls. It's a visual metaphor for a fresh start. On The Block, it's episode 1 every single season. But have you ever stopped to ask, where does all that stuff go? The answer is, overwhelmingly, landfill. The Australian construction and demolition industry is one of the nation's biggest waste producers, generating over 27 million tons of waste every year. That's about half of all the waste created in the country. And The Block is a masterclass in how to contribute to that mountain of rubbish. The show's philosophy is to gut everything without a second thought. We watch as perfectly functional kitchens from the 90s are sledgehammered into oblivion, solid timber flooring is ripped up and trashed, and internal walls that could easily be worked around are unceremoniously knocked down. It's a culture of total annihilation, driven by trends and the need for a dramatic before and after shot. This teaches the audience that anything not brand new and on trend is worthless. Think of it like fast fashion for houses. You wouldn't throw out a perfectly good car just because you don't like the color of the seats. Yet, The Block normalizes ripping out a 10-year-old bathroom, one that most people would be thrilled to have, simply because the tiles are the wrong shape. The show's very DNA is wasteful. It's built on the hunger for the new, sponsored by companies that need to sell you new things, like new appliances, new furniture, new kitchens, and new bathrooms. The entire economic model relies on convincing you that what you already have is garbage. It's a cycle of manufactured dissatisfaction, and the result is a mountain of waste. But perhaps the most disposable material on The Block, however, is the people. Every reality show needs a hero and a villain. It needs a narrative. On The Block, if a narrative doesn't naturally exist, the producers will create one in the edit suite. This is perhaps the show's most cynical deception. We think we're watching real people, but we're actually watching characters, constructed from thousands of hours of footage, boiled down to the most dramatic soundbites. Numerous former contestants have spoken out about the shock of seeing their character on TV. They describe being sleep-deprived, working 100-hour weeks under immense physical and psychological pressure, and having their worst, most exhausted moments captured and broadcast to the nation as a representation of their entire personality. A single eye roll and a frustrated comment under their breath become the building blocks of their public identity. In 2018, contestant Sarah Vale was portrayed as a demanding drama queen, becoming one of the most vilified figures in the show's history. She later spoke about the devastating impact this had on her mental health, revealing she faced a barrage of online abuse and death threats. The show thrives on conflict, and if there isn't enough, it will be manufactured at the direct expense of the contestants' well-being. Watch enough of the block and the underlying pattern becomes clear. The goal is to construct a monument to wealth, a house where every design choice is geared towards one thing: impressing people. This block-style aesthetic has a huge influence on Australian design trends. It sets an impossibly high bar for what a good home is supposed to look like. It subtly teaches us that a home's value is measured in marble benchtops and designer tapware, not in its comfort, functionality, or the memories made within it. This seeps into the mainstream consciousness. First home buyers stretch their budgets to breaking point, trying to replicate a look they saw on TV. People in perfectly adequate homes start feeling a sense of inadequacy. The show turns a home from a place of shelter and security into a public performance. Your home becomes your status symbol, a reflection of your success. And if it doesn't look like a showroom, you're failing. And this is where that fantasy collides with a brutal reality. While the block is busy showing us how to build $1 million kitchen, the country it's broadcasting to is in the grips of a severe housing crisis. As of 2025, rental prices in major cities are at record highs. More Australians are experiencing rental stress and homelessness than ever before. An entire generation is being told that the dream of homeownership, the very dream this show is built on, is becoming a mathematical impossibility for them. And in the middle of all this, here is a primetime TV show that treats housing like a high-stakes game for the wealthy. The contrast is staggering. You're literally watching contestants agonize over a $20,000 stove, while thousands of families are agonizing over a $20 a week rent increase that could make them homeless. The show's final auction is the ultimate symbol of this disconnect, and it has become the personal playground for one man, investor Danny Wallace. He has come to dominate recent seasons, buying up nearly a dozen block properties. His actions reveal the truth of the event, wherein he's collecting trophies instead of buying a home. The houses are treated like rare art, added to a portfolio to be used as short-term rentals or simply held as status symbols. The block reinforces the idea that the only purpose of a house is to make money. It platforms and celebrates property speculation as a noble, exciting pursuit, completely ignoring the social wreckage this mindset creates. The show isn't the main reason why there's a housing crisis, but it's the crisis's best marketing campaign. It's the ultimate distraction, glamorizing the very system that is failing so many. The biggest loser of the show is the Australian public, who are sold a dangerous fantasy. A fantasy that renovation is a quick path to wealth, that housing is a game, waste doesn't matter, and that the obscene luxury we see on screen is something to aspire to, rather than something to question. The block reflects Australia's unhealthy obsession with property and people's willingness to look away from the ugly truth if the fantasy is entertaining enough. It's slick, it's compelling, and it's incredibly well-made television. So the next time you tune in and you see the champagne flowing on auction day, it's worth asking yourself, what is the real price of this dream? Because in a game where the winners take all, the rest of us are inevitably left outside, looking through the glass. But what do you think? Is it just harmless entertainment, or has the block fundamentally changed how Australians think about homes? Drop your thoughts in the comments section below. We'd love to hear what you think. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next deep dive. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, stay curious.